What if I told you that one of the most famous space missions in history, known for its triumphant tale of survival against all odds, might actually be concealing a truth so dark, so unbelievable, that NASA itself had to rewrite history? We all know Apollo 13 as a successful failure. But what if that narrative was carefully crafted to hide something far more sinister than a simple oxygen tank explosion? Houston, we've had a problem here. Those 6 words, uttered by astronaut Jack Swigert, cemented Apollo 13's place in the annals of space exploration. It was April 1970. The world watched, captivated, as 3 men, Jim Lovell, Fred Hayes, and Jack Swigert, hurtled through the void. Their lunar module, Aquarius, suddenly transformed from a lunar lander into a desperate, fragile lifeboat. An oxygen tank had exploded, crippling their service module, threatening to turn a routine moon landing into an interstellar tomb. For days, engineers on Earth worked tirelessly, improvising solutions, guiding the astronauts through uncharted territory, a brilliant ballet of human ingenuity against the indifferent vacuum of space. The world held its breath. Then, against all odds, they returned, splashing down safely in the Pacific. It was a miracle, a testament to courage and problem-solving, a story taught in schools, celebrated in films, a shining example of humanity's resilience. But what if that story, the one we've all been told, is merely a smokescreen, a meticulously constructed narrative designed to protect a far more terrifying truth? Let's dig a little deeper. The official report states a faulty wiring insulation, damaged during a pre-flight test, caused the oxygen tank to explode. A mundane, albeit catastrophic, equipment failure. But even before the explosion, whispers circulated. Pre-flight checks on Apollo 13 were reportedly plagued with anomalies. There were fluctuations in sensor readings, mysterious power surges, and an almost eerie silence from certain instruments, dismissed at the time as glitches. And after the explosion, the communications were, in hindsight, unusually fractured. The infamous "Houston, we've had a problem" was actually a cleaned-up version for public consumption. The actual conversation, often overlooked in the official transcripts, contained moments of static, garbled words and strange pauses. One amateur radio enthusiast picking up the signals swore he heard an astronaut asking, "What was that thing?" right before the main explosion report. A simple equipment failure wouldn't provoke such a question, would it? And then there's the trajectory. To get home, the module had to slingshot around the moon. But some calculations from independent astrophysicists suggest their initial burn to achieve that slingshot was anomalous, almost as if they were trying to avoid something or outrun it. Why the frantic, almost desperate realignment? NASA, of course, attributed it to the complexity of a crippled spacecraft. But some believe the complexities were far greater than just a broken tank. What if the problem wasn't just with the module, but something outside of it? Consider the official explanation for the loss of telemetry data during certain critical phases of the mission. Antenna alignment issues, NASA said. Convenient, wouldn't you agree? For several hours, the world, and mission control, was essentially blind to Apollo 13's true situation. This gap, some argue, wasn't accidental. It was a deliberate blind spot, created just long enough for something extraordinary and highly classified to transpire. And then there are the missing photographs. Out of hundreds of onboard photos taken during the mission, a significant number, particularly those from the immediate aftermath of the incident and during their circumlunar trajectory, were either never released or were heavily redacted. NASA's explanation? Excess exposure, or not relevant to the mission objectives. But for a mission that nearly ended in disaster, wouldn't every piece of visual data be relevant? What if those images captured something anomalous, something unexplainable, hovering just outside their viewport? Something that would shatter humanity's understanding of its place in the universe? The story of Apollo 13 is one of crisis management, but it could also be a masterclass in obfuscation. What if the true problem that Apollo 13 encountered was not an internal failing, but an external, utterly unexpected encounter. An encounter so profound, so paradigm-shifting, that the powers that be decided the world simply wasn't ready. Imagine the panic, the societal upheaval, if the truth of what those three astronauts truly saw, truly experienced beyond the safe confines of their damaged vessel, had been revealed. The meticulous crafting of the oxygen tank explosion narrative then becomes a necessary evil, a psychological shield to protect the fragile psyche of a planet. So, Apollo 13 returned, heroes celebrated, a testament to human spirit. But as the mission's commander, Jim Lovell, famously said, "It was a good flight. We never got to the moon, but we showed the world that we could overcome a terrible problem." A terrible problem indeed. But was it the problem we were told? Or was it something far more profound, something that necessitated one of the greatest cover-ups in human history? To this day, the true cost of space exploration and the secrets it might still hold remain tantalizingly out of reach. We may never truly know what happened up there in the silent, star-dusted void beyond the comforting narrative of a successful failure. If you want to explore another story of questionable events in space, the next video explores the missing transmissions from Project Mercury and what those early astronauts might have been trying to tell us. The truth, after all, is rarely as simple as it seems.